Hello. Good afternoon, good morning, good day to everyone from Germany, from Ananda Vihara, from Ayyā Phalanyani. Today we are talking a little bit more about the things that we left off with last time, namely emptiness. Quite far away. It seems that not everybody is here, but yet we start. So the topic of today is again emptiness, as I said, and we read the Cūḷasuññatasutta last time. That was in the Majjhima Nikaya number 121. And this explained, good morning. Yes, I'm just making up words, so to say, because I see those who are usually coming are not all there. So I'm still... Oh, Sira, greetings from Immenstadt. This is nearby. You could be at our monastery. That's interesting. Okay. Anyway, so yes, I was just talking to bridge the time until everybody's there who seems to be interested in the topic. And as I said already, we're continuing with the topic we started last time, and that is emptiness. And last week I read a sutta, and we talked a little bit, but far too little, about the sutta that I read. That was Majjhima Nikaya 121, the Cūḻasuññatasutta. And today I have brought some translations of the Heart Sutta for you. And there are plenty translations into English or into German out there, but we are going to explore two of them that I copied out, that I choose from the vastness of what is there. But first I wanted to go back and remind a little bit what we have been talking about last time. The Theravada view of it, of emptiness, of sunyata. Sunyata in Sanskrit and in Mahayana thus is said shunyata. In English, both is translated more or less into emptiness, into void, into... I think that's it, basically. And here, in the Sutta 121 of the Majjhima Nikaya, the Buddha led us with the example of the forest where he stayed together with Ananda. He led us from the temple grounds, the forest, into the jhanas, and into that state we were talking about very, very long ago, not so long ago, but last year. And that state, which is sometimes called the ninth jhana, that which is nibbana. So this is also mentioned in this Cūḻasuññatasutta. And we are led by the Buddha in his example. He mentions when Ananda asks whether he understood correctly that the Buddha often dwells in emptiness, that he really said that. The Buddha said, yes, he said that. And then starts to come up with the example of there's that monastery, which was a forest, that would be empty of lay people and cattle and horses and mares and empty of village life. And in the next step, he reduces what is not there, even because the bhikkhu then doesn't take into account what is still there. So he says that place is empty of horses and men and women, and then in the next step he says the forest is still there, just those things are not there. So knowing that the disturbance of what is still there, one leaves behind what has been the disturbance earlier and just takes into consideration which is still there. That is then the disturbance of the sign, it says in that sutta, forest. And then we do not take we do not pay much attention to the ravines and bushes and hooks and niches, but are only aware of, well, there being forest. And then when the awareness becomes and the concentration becomes finer, we see that as a disturbance. And then we descend, so to say, in the next finer state. That would be then already, and in the Buddha it is mentioned, the fifth jhana, the first higher jhana of empty space, or how you say that in English? I don't remember. That's weird. I'm not remembering any English words today. So I check up. 700. Here we have it already. So yes, after the perception of earth, infinite space. I should have remembered. So anyway, so he says this is the descent into the next finer state, into genuine, undistorted, pure voidness. So we go deeper and deeper. From that point on, from the base of infinite space, we go with each step deeper through the higher jhanas into the real supreme void, which is then the ninth state. So this was just a very brief reminder. I tried really to shorten it up because we had last week's talk about that sutta, and today we wanted to talk about a comparison of things, a comparison of the Heart Sutra, and how emptiness is put there, how we can understand emptiness from that angle. So if you have questions, then later I'm happy to talk about them. And I remember there was a question, not actually in regards to emptiness, I think, but I don't remember the question. So if the person who had the question would like to come up today, I would be happy to answer it. Buddha Ruchi also already says something. So, is it not wonderful to appreciate others' roads to Nibbana? I think sometimes by making argument against this road or that, we miss the forest for the trees. Exactly that, Buddha Ruchi. I think this is so important. This is so important that we do not disparage others or not disparage another Buddhist way, another road to Nibbana that other people are taking. And all these are valid roads to Nibbana. You know, of course, there are wrong opinions out there. And we have to strongly remind those people with wrong opinions that this is not the Dhamma. This is a wrong opinion. But if it's the Dhamma, then we have to protect it, whether it's our way or another way. That has no any disparaging of other ways, has no room, should have no room for a Buddhist in their hearts. So I thank you so much to bring that up, because it's really so important. And there's a sutta actually in the Majjhima Nikaya also, maybe one day we talk about that, where the Buddha says precisely that if you say only this is right and everything else is wrong, even if you say that about the Dhamma, only this is right and everything else is false, then that in itself is incorrect. So he encourages us really to be open to other ways. And he himself taught so many ways to Nibbana that we should be, those who understand much less than he did, we shouldn't be the ones to say this or that is a good way or not. What do we know? That is the question that we should ask ourselves then, if we come to that. I see, how to take that away. Good now. Also, I cannot deny, although it might contradict what Sud has to say, there is no other path to Nibbana. There is only one path, in my humble opinion. This is not really a contradiction of what Buddha Ruchi said or what I confirmed. Although there are many ways, the closer you get, the more similarity in the steps you have to take are there. you know, there is a saying, at least here in Germany, there are plenty, or how is the saying? All roads lead to Rome. If you want to Rome and to go to Rome, and if say Rome would be could be replaced by Nibbana, then if you go to Rome and you come from America, then you go just another direction towards it. Then as when you would come from Singapore. But once you get maybe to Europe, the things become more and more similar. And once you get into Italy, there is not much distinction anymore. So first it starts very, very individual. So, but now let me start with the Heart Sutras that I wanted to read out for you first before we talk about it in further detail. They are very, very beautiful. And as I mentioned last week, I had a copy of a paper print of the Heart Sutra in my kitchen drawer when I was a layperson and practicing Zen. And I was always in awe and amazed. And but I couldn't, definitely, I couldn't understand what it was about. So let me see. Was talking here it is, was talking too much. It disappeared. So I have, as I said, two versions that I choose of plenty that are available in English. The first one is from a professor. He was born Dutch, lived and worked and married and taught in America. And that is George Beret. And he's retired now, but his translation for me is very approachable, is very direct and down to earth. And he's not a Buddhist, by the way, but he taught Buddhist philosophy. And he said that he learned so much by reading the suttas and studying Buddhism that he is endlessly grateful. So, and he made a translation for his students of the Heart Sutra. Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva of compassion, meditating deeply on perfection of wisdom, saw clearly that the 5 aspects of human existence are empty, and so released himself from suffering. Answering the monk Sariputta, he said this: body is nothing more than emptiness. Emptiness is nothing more than body. The body is exactly empty, and emptiness is exactly body. The other 4 aspects of human existence, feeling, thought, will, and consciousness, are likewise nothing more than emptiness, and emptiness, nothing more than they. All things are empty. Nothing is born. Nothing dies. Nothing is pure. Nothing is stained. Nothing increases and nothing decreases. So, in emptiness, there is no body, no feeling, no thought, no will, no consciousness. There are no eyes, no ears, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind. There is no seeing, no hearing, no smelling, no tasting, no touching, no imagining. There is nothing seen, nor heard, nor smelled, nor tasted, nor touched, nor imagined. There is no ignorance and no end to ignorance. There is no old age and death, and no end to old age and death. There is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no end to suffering, no path to follow. There is no attainment of wisdom, and no wisdom to attain. The bodhisattvas rely on the perfection of wisdom, and so, with no delusions, they feel no fear and have nirvana here and now. All the Buddhas, past, present, and future, rely on the perfection of wisdom and live in full enlightenment. The perfection of wisdom is the greatest mantra. It is the clearest mantra. It is the highest mantra. The mantra that removes all suffering. This is truth that cannot be doubted. Say it so. Gate gate paragyate parasamgate bodhisvaha, which means gone, gone, gone over, gone fully over, awakened, so be it. That was the first of the two Heart Sutra versions. This one of Professor George Beret. So I don't know whether this is very, very much Mahayana sounding or not. But to me, reading it as a Theravada nun, this is, if you wish, pure Theravada also. I don't see any problem there or any difference. First, I will read the second translation. But I want already to mention that we have something that sounds very different, but is in meaning quite the same. That is the Anattalakkhana Sutta, which basically says the same thing. There is no self, there is nothing in those 5 khandhas or those 5 skandhas. So let me get forward to the next version. And that one is of Thich Nhat Hanh. Thich Nhat Hanh, I don't need to say much about him. He is Vietnamese monk of the Zen, a very, very, his own, say, Zen tradition, and a very great master. He has translated many texts anew, and also this one. The Heart Sutra. Insight that leads us to the other shore. Avalokiteshvara, while practicing deeply with the insight that brings us to the other shore, suddenly discovered that all of the 5 skandhas are equally empty. And with this realization, he overcame all ill being. Listen, Sariputta, this body itself is emptiness, and emptiness itself is body. This body is not other than emptiness, and emptiness is not other than this body. The same is true for feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness. Listen, Sariputta, all phenomena bear the mark of emptiness. The true nature is the nature of no birth, no death, no being, no non-being, no defilement, no purity, nor increasing, no decreasing. That is why in emptiness, body, feelings, perception, mental formations, and consciousness are not separate self-entities. These 18 realms of phenomena, which are the 6 sense organs, the 6 sense objects, and the 6 consciousnesses, are also not separate self-entities. The 12 links of interdependent arising and their extinction are also not separate self-entities. Ill-being, the cause of ill-being, the end of ill-being, the path, insight, and attainment are also not separate self-entities. Whoever can see this no longer needs anything to attain. Bodhisattvas who practice the insight that brings us to the other shore see no more obstacles in their mind. And because there are no more obstacles in their mind, they can overcome all fear, destroy all wrong perceptions, and realize perfect nirvana. All the Buddhas in the past, present, and future, by practicing the insight that brings us to the other shore, are all capable of attaining authentic and perfect enlightenment. Therefore, Sariputta, it should be known that the insight that brings us to the other shore is a great mantra, the most illuminating mantra, the highest mantra, a mantra beyond compare, the true wisdom that has the power to put an end to all kinds of suffering. Therefore, let us proclaim the mantra to praise the insight that brings us to the other shore. Gate, gate, paragate, parasangate, bodhi swaha. So these two translations oh, you have written a lot in the meantime. I'm just trying to quickly see if there are any questions on the way. So, no, there are some plenty comments, but no questions so far. So I continue to say what I wanted to say about these two versions of the Heart Sutra, which is purely a Mahayana. But if you read those two, they are not different from the Theravada teaching. So if you read the version of Thich Nhat Hanh, there he is taking the terms that are used in Theravada, you know, the translations of the interdependent arising, for example, and mental, the five khandhas or skandhas. He translated them as they are translated into English from the Theravada. So there has been the notion, the try to bring them together, those two different ways that are not so different after all. So all this, which is in the in this sutta, which is the Maha Prajna Paramita Sutta, I think. I'm not sure whether I pronounced that correctly, but the Great Sutra of the Great Wisdom, so, or Heart Sutra. If you look now, for example, at a sutta, which is very, very famous, like the Anatta Lakkhana Sutta in the Samyutta Nikaya, which I have here, and there it is in the Kanda Samyutta, in the second book, in 22, Kanda Samyutta, and there it is number 7 or 59, depends on the translation or the translator. They are all different in different numeration, but the Anatta Lakkhana Sutta, and by Bhikkhu Bodhi translated as the characteristic of non-self, there we have exactly the same thing. There it is said, all these five khandhas, there we don't find any identity. There is no I, me, mine. We should regard what we have in the five khandhas as impermanent and subject to change. And then we shall see, this is not mine. This am I not. This is not myself. And this is the true meaning of anatta. There is no self to be found. All these five khandhas that we have to deal with. You out there with yours, here with these that are here. It's a perception that we think, because this is near and we perceive it, but we learn the perception incorrectly. And so we need to unlearn what we learned so far and look at it and understand, this is not mine. This am I not. This is not myself. And that is for everything. That is for this body, for other bodies, for the orchids that are here right next to me on the table, or you out there, any thought that I might think, any feeling that I might have for this cup of tea. There is nothing. That has a self, or of which I could say, this is mine. I could say, of course, this is my cup of tea, but it's quite impermanent. It's not a cup of tea anymore. It's an empty cup. One day it will break and it won't be a cup anymore. So even this, of which I think this is my cup, it is not. The thoughts that I'm sharing with you, I could say, I could think, these are my thoughts. Quite brilliant thoughts, my thoughts. But these are not my thoughts. Maybe when they are brilliant, or better, I think better said, these thoughts are not myself. Do I have, when I think, this stupid person, I want to punch her or him? I wouldn't want to say, this is my thought, or this thought is myself? Fortunately not. And also with the nice thoughts, it's the same. I can't say these are myself. I can't define this through the thoughts. I can't define this through the skin, through the fingernails. I can't tell my fingernails to stop growing. They're always growing. I always have to cut them because we can only have short fingernails, no longer than 3 millimeters. And every week they are growing. And they reach maybe 3 millimeters already. So it's not possible. Even this body of which I might think this is mine, I can't say, well, my fingernail, you have stopped growing when I wanted to. It's not possible. So I better accept that there is nothing. Even if I think this could be mine, this could have a self, it hasn't. And we as Buddhists, we should get used to that thought and should accept the fact that none of all this we have to deal with all the time, internally and externally, has a self. We only can manage that we have wholesome thoughts or wholesome actions. And we can manage so much that we bring our context, our conglomerate of the 5 khandhas into a wholesome context so that we grow in the Dhamma. But still, we can't say, this is my wholesome self then. And these 2 sutras that I have read, the Heart Sutras, for me, it sounds as if this Avalokiteshvara is maybe a student of the Venerable Sariputta and comes after being enlightened, after understanding how this really, what the Buddha said is true, comes to them and understands it's completely empty and there's no difference between body empty and emptiness, body and all these khandhas empty. And he just fully understood, and he must share it with somebody. So for me, it sounds as if this is really Avalokiteshvara is somebody who really sat there in meditation, comes out and understands fully and deeply and declares by those words his final attainment of Nibbana. He has seen it. He has understood how to get over to the other shore and is ready to share it with others. And when we look at the explanations of emptiness from other texts, then we find that really those explanations given here of the 5 khandhas, empty, are explanations about the state of Nibbana. There is no body, but also there is no nobody. There is nothing to see, nothing to hear, nothing to smell, nothing to taste. Because it's Nibbana. And there was a little passage that I had in mind to read last weekend, couldn't. Maybe I find it quickly. And that is from the Mahavedalla Sutta, number 43 in Majjhima Nikaya. And there are 2 arahants, 2 very enlightened beings, Mahakotita and Sariputta, that same Sariputta, are talking about that state of Nibbana. And one asks the other from verse 23 onwards, friends, are vital formations things that can be felt, or are vital formations one thing and a thing that can be felt another? Vital formations, friend, are not things that can be felt. If vital formations were things that can be felt, then a bhikkhu who has entered upon the cessation of perception and feeling, so the state of Nibbana, then a bhikkhu who has entered upon the cessation of perception and feeling would not be seen to emerge from it. But because vital formations are one thing and things that can be felt another, a bhikkhu who has entered upon the cessation of perception and feeling can be seen to emerge from it. Friend, when this body is bereft of how many states? Questions the other again. States, is it then discarded and forsaken, left lying senseless like a log, so dead? Friend, when this body is bereft of 3 states, vitality, heat, and consciousness, it is then discarded and forsaken, left lying senseless like a log. Friend, what is the difference between one who is dead, who has completed this time, and a bhikkhu who has entered upon the cessation of perception and feeling? Friend, in the case of one who is dead, one who has completed his time, his bodily formations have ceased and subsided. His verbal formations have ceased and subsided. His mental formations have ceased and subsided. His vitality is exhausted. His heat has been dissipated, and his faculties are fully broken up. Now, in the case of a bhikkhu who has entered upon the cessation of perception and feeling, namely Nibbana, his bodily formations have ceased and subsided. His verbal formations have ceased and subsided. His mental formations have ceased and subsided. But his vitality is not exhausted. His heat has not been dissipated, and his faculties become exceptionally clear. This is the difference between one who is dead, who has completed his time, and a bhikkhu who has entered upon the cessation of perception and feeling. So, this is about the state of perception, cessation of perception and feeling, is what the Buddha was talking about. Emptiness, sunyata. There is nothing anymore. That person could, and here 2 arahants are talking about exactly that. That person could be seen as dead, but emerges from it, emerges from that state. And then is alive, of course. A dead person is not alive anymore. It can't recover from that state. But an arahant who has gone into this state of nibbana can emerge from the state of nibbana. And in that state of nibbana, it says, there is nothing. Now I have put away the book, but there are no mental formations. There are no bodily formations. There is basically really nothing. That person could be dead as seen from outside. So this is exactly what is described in the Heart Sutra. There's nothing. Nothing is there in that state. So this is why it is for me that Avalokiteshvara is somebody who descended or who emerged from that state, from that meditative state, who had experience of nibbana, who has experienced the bliss of nibbana, of nirodha samapatti, the fruit of arahantship. And thus he can explain how it is very clearly that there is nothing, that it is completely, fully empty. Yeah, so let me see if there are again some. Jita writes here, this is the Bodhisattva path to become a fully awakened Sammasambuddha. This is this is also the path to, or the fruit, say, of somebody who has seen Nibbana. Not, say, stream entry. I think this is really more and deeper. This must be the arahantship. But this is not far away from, this is exactly like in Theravada. So grateful to be joining you last weekend for this teaching, Supreme. Yeah, well, I do what I can. not a perfectly enlightened one, but I try to be inclusive and although I sometimes feel, I have to be honest, I sometimes feel like, oh, this is not right and this is not the way, when it, of course, is about others' ways. But I try to remind myself all the time that we shall not do that, not to disparage others. One of the qualities I want to find in a translation is Buddharuchi. One of the qualities I want to find in a translation is chantability. This a sutta to live with, to chant regularly. I think that would be possible. There is, in fact, the version of Thich Nhat Hanh, there is, if you Google that, on their website, also a sound file where you can find this chant chanted, recited. In Theravada, we do chant, although this is not maybe for daily practice or for daily recital, but we do chant the entire Untitled Sutta regularly. And this is a very great teaching. What does that mean? IMHO, in my humble opinion, I think, well, there is much more to nothingness might be perceived a bit in jhana. Yes, we spoke about that last time, right? That you are descending through the jhanas into the final state of nibbana. Through the jhanas, so to say, you descend through the jhanas into nibbana. That is one way to go. That we have been talking about last week. I'm feeling inspired now to start recording the Anattalakkhana Sutta. So maybe you will enjoy it. I won't make any promises when I'm done with that. But I want to do that. So if I have it done, I'll share it here. So here's probably a question. Ayyā, might we say that the Theravada approach is to examine the minute pieces to get to the overarching understanding while the yes, that might be a little bit so. The Theravada approach is to really examine every single moment, and by that going into those states deeper and deeper and descend through the jhanas into the final state of nibbana. Whereas in some Mahayana, I can't say in all Mahayana teaching, it's that you look at the general picture before getting the pieces, but that Heart Sutra, you can either take it as looking at it as the pieces from the outside before you reach there, or you can take it as from somebody who found it and as an inspiration, as don't know another word than inspiration for really having this this as a possible outcome. So what else? Sadhu, nothingness can be experienced in Samadhi or Jhana. Is it the nothingness described, or is that the super? So as I said, maybe you want to reread the sutta that we had last time. That was the Majjhima Nikaya number 121. I have read it in the translation of Bhikkhu Bodhi. And there it's very, very clearly stated that you go through the jhanas into the superior and supreme state of cessation. It's not the ending with the eighth cessation, because the eighth state is still neither perception nor non-perception. It's the ninth state in which you go, and which is the supreme nibbana. Okay, see, time is up already again. So, is there a bodhisattva practice in Theravada tradition? If you ask me, now I'm here to be asked. If you at one point on your life stream made the determination that you want to become enlightened, that you want to reach Nibbana, that you want to become an Arahant or a Buddha, then you are a bodhisattva, a person that is working as the Buddha did for aeons. He was working on to perfect the paramis, his qualities, to become a better person, so much so that he could become the Buddha. And there are discussions about the Theravadins, or whether we really all are bodhisattvas, or only those who want to achieve Buddhaship, or if that is the way to Arahantship also. And the discussion is because we chant Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. So there are the words arahato, so the arahant, and the samma sambuddha, the fully enlightened Buddha, in the same line, describing the Buddha. So the Buddha was an arahant, and not all arahants are Buddha, but the Buddha was also an arahant. And we might all be arahants. No, one day. And once we are arahants, we're not bodhisattvas anymore. But before we are arahants, we are bodhisattvas. Whether we like it or not, without or with vows. I believe the Mahayana impression Sunya Anagarika, yes, the Theravada interpretation of emptiness also is much greater than emptiness. Sunya is that which is the final goal, that which we want to go for all. this is Nibbana. It is also the non-self because it is only experienced truly by one who has seen Nibbana. Before that, we can enjoy emptiness only partly. So I think we're getting too long. So, but this is so interesting. So how can accept the karma with emptiness? How can we accept the karma with emptiness? No, karma, there is a second part of the question. Hope karma isn't empty. Karma is the most empty thing that you find, the most true and the most empty thing that you find. It doesn't choose and picks, it is just what it is. And we have no other way than accepting it and to make the best out of what it brings towards it. Dan Jones is quoting another. There are in Samyutta Nikaya very beautiful texts that I have been reading these days. And in the Devata Samyutta, for example, has some short, brief texts that are very nice and going very well together with the teaching of emptiness. So maybe that we take for next time. I will look at it. We're getting too long. Okay. I think it's now time to end here. Blessings to all of you. Be well. And Sira, if you're in Immenstadt, come by. We're in Rettenberg, which is half an hour away.